and let us all do we can to build a better future. Let's get started with our first story. So there's a lot of talk about impeachment. So I don't even know what to think about this right now with impeachment, but there's now talk about Donald Trump being impeached again. Daniel, are you happy about this?
Well, I mean, he does have like 9 days left. A lot can change. You take him out, but don't solve any of the things that got him there. That's the good old Democratic way. Yeah. A bunch of school kids in a lunchroom kicking out one guy who then makes friends with a bunch of other guys, then competes with them. What could go wrong?
But hold on, there's a lot of people talking about this impeachment, so let's play this video from Case Study QB. Mind you, again, Case Study QB's Twitter is still being viewed as controversial, even though the only thing that he's posting up there is clips from corporate media.
We're not going to get too much into it, but we're learning that anyone who had video of that, the Washington, let's just say march, because YouTube's being very careful with us, seems to be getting very outsized attacks, perhaps more than the people who actually were at the Capitol. But yeah, whatever.
All right, so let's go ahead and play this video. This is George Snuffleupagus talking to Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez about the possibility of impeachment. We're going to play 2 videos, but you can check out the rest of this in the show notes below.
Cortez, she's a Democrat from New York. Congressman Adam Kinzinger, Republican from Illinois. And Congressman Cortez, let me begin with you. So I know you're a supporter of impeachment. The Speaker has not yet decided whether she's going to schedule it. Should she schedule it, will it pass?
Well, I absolutely believe that impeachment should be scheduled for several reasons. One, of course, our main priority is to ensure the removal of Donald Trump as president of the United States. Every minute and every hour that he is in office represents a clear and present danger, not just to the United States Congress, but frankly to the country. But in addition to removal, we're also talking about complete barring of the president, or rather of Donald Trump, from running for office ever again. And in addition to that, the potential ability to prevent pardoning himself from those charges that he was impeached for.
And, the several Republican members of Congress who opposed raising objections to certifying the Electoral College vote have written a letter to President-elect Biden opposing impeachment. Here's what the letter says. It says, in the spirit of healing and fidelity to our Constitution, we ask that you formally request that Speaker Nancy Pelosi discontinue her efforts to impeach President Donald J. Trump a second time. A second impeachment only days before President Trump will leave office is as unnecessary as it is inflammatory. They're saying, for the sake of unity, forego impeachment.
Well, I think there's a couple of things. One is we have to understand that what happened on Wednesday was insurrection against the United States. That is what Donald J. Trump engaged in, and that is what those who stormed the Capitol engaged in. And so when we talk about healing, the process of healing is separate and, in fact, requires accountability. And so if we allow insurrection against the United States with impunity, with no accountability, we are inviting it to happen again. That is how serious it is. And I do not believe that perhaps my colleagues weren't in that room. Perhaps my colleagues were not fully present for the events on Wednesday, but we came close to half of the House nearly dying.
Just want to point out before Kit takes the lead on this that, well, a lot of stuff's been happening in the country over the last year. A lot of people have gotten sick and died, and there have been a lot of protests on a lot of issues. Mm-hmm. It seems like really what the key to get senators and congressmen, women's actions started is make it happen to them, because I don't see this kind of outrage about a lot of other protests. It just seems like it's in their backyard, so all of a sudden it means something because it's happening to them.
Yeah, and look, this is what we say, like, when you bring it to their front door, they're going to see it. Now, obviously, what we saw those past few days ago was a complete crap show. All right, let's be real about it. Nothing fundamentally changed, save for the fact now that everyone's in the super fast rush for censorship and tone policing. But there's a consequence, repercussion to this talk of impeachment. Let's play the second video from AOC.
And just really quickly before we do, I just want to make one more quick comment that I don't see anyone in the Democratic Party also bringing up, which is a lot of those the thing that's let these people in, in Congress, were the police who opened up barricades, took selfies. Why do we not hear calls for treason trials or something against cops who, in your eyes, participated willingly in an insurrection by bypassing? Kit, let me ask you this: you served in the Marines. If you saw people untoward, let's say, coming through a checkpoint, and instead of trying to engage them, you said, "Right this way," what would happen to you?
Well, I would not be sitting here talking to you right now, Daniel. I'd probably be in jail. Or either that, I would be kicked out of the military. Because the one thing you don't do is just let anyone by a checkpoint. My first tour was in the green zone, and you can never lift that gate up for anybody or anyone.
Yeah.
And the thing is like, that's foolish. So I wish that maybe AOC would be a little more harsher and be like, hey, because there are videos on social media, unless anyone else wants to correct the record, but there are videos on social media all over Twitter and Facebook. Check them out before they're taken down, of barricades being removed by the police and letting these people in.
The only reason I bring it up, AOC, is just to make the point that usually the way this works in most major cities where this happens, where you have an okay stance, which I think is actually the correct stance, is the police go, "No, you're not getting in or we're going to kill you." Whereas here the stance was, "Welcome."
I would call it the correct.
Can I have a selfie?
Actually, I wouldn't call it a correct stance, because then police say, no, you can't come in here.
To be consistent, I should say.
To be consistent with their previous actions. Okay, thank you for clarifying that. All right. With that being said, let's play that next video.
And if another head of state came in and ordered an attack on the United States Congress, would we say that should not be prosecuted? Would we say that there should be absolutely no response to that? No. It is an act of insurrection. It's an act of hostility. And we must have accountability, because without it, it will happen again.
There's a concern also from Democrats, though, that if you're having a Senate trial, it can't happen in the next 10 days. If you're having the Senate trial in the early days of President Biden's term, it's going to prevent the confirmation of his appointees to the cabinet. It's going to slow down, perhaps, the passage of essential COVID relief legislation.
I think, George, I think we need to review what actually happened on Wednesday. The National Guard was requested by the D.C. Council and was rejected. We are talking about, and we are hearing about, a complete and utter lack of preparation. The chief of the D.C. Capitol Police lied to House Administration Chairwoman Zoe Lofgren about the preparations of what happened. We need to know what happened and how deep this goes. And if we do not take corrective action right now, we are talking about those same potentially compromised elements being in charge of the president's security during the inauguration. And so, with profound respect, I believe that the president's safety and the safety of the United States Congress and the security of our country, it takes precedent over the timing of nominations and the timing of potential confirmations. This is in immediate danger right now.
No.
So you're confident House Speaker Nancy Pelosi is going to move forward with impeachment?
I do believe that we will be moving forward with impeachment, but again, we are looking towards multiple avenues, and I do not believe that those avenues are mutually exclusive. This is not an either-or proposition. This is not either the 25th Amendment or impeachment or investigating our other avenues through the 14th Amendment. I do not believe that any of these avenues are competitive with one another. They all.
Okay, so I just want to pull up this article from Common Dreams again. And I just want to read the first two paragraphs about it. Progressives late Sunday voiced growing frustration with what they perceive as dangerous foot dragging by the Democratic leadership after House Speaker Nancy Pelosi laid out a plan of action for the coming week that will likely push off an impeachment vote until Wednesday. a full week after the violent mob incited by President Donald Trump attacked the U.S. Capitol. In a Dear Colleague letter on Sunday, Pelosi said House Majority Leader Stan Hoyer will request unanimous consent Monday morning to pass a resolution calling on Vice President Mike Pence and the cabinet to invoke the 25th Amendment. Mind you, as it stands right now, Vice President Mike Pence is not going to invoke the 25th Amendment. He's not doing it. So it's a nothing burger. And remove Trump out of office. If the unanimous consent request is blocked, the full House will vote on the 25th Amendment measure on Tuesday, according to Nancy Pelosi. We are calling on the vice president to respond within 24 hours. So the article goes on and on and on. But here's the thing. I'm seeing a lot of people call for impeachment. Because
it didn't work the first time. It's going to work now. Now it doesn't matter.
And the thing is, it's not going to work. And before we comment on this, I want us all to time travel to the early days when Nancy was a little bit more younger. Let's play that last video about impeachment and really the problems that are going to come from it, because there's a lot of different avenues in which we could tear apart this impeachment procedure that's going to happen. That will be a big nothing burger. Let's play this video of Nancy.
The argument against President Bush was about a president and an administration that sent us into a war based on a false representation of the threat of weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. That's a major accusation against the president. And I myself said that at the time, in 2002 when the bill came up. The intelligence does not support the threat that the president is, not the president, his administration is contending. Having said that, it's not about impeaching the president. It's about putting the country through that. I thought what the Republicans did to President Clinton was shameful, irresponsible, and wrong for the country. And what he did was stupid, but it had nothing to do with public policy and his office, his responsibility and his office. I do think people could have made a case about President Bush, but I did not want to go down that path because of what it would mean for the American people.
Okay, well, there you go. You're seeing that. And here's the thing that's going to be a big waste of time with the impeachment procedure. People are called on the House for a floor vote for Medicare for all. People have been calling on our elected representatives in the House and Senate for continuous stimulus checks. People have been calling on the House and Senate for at least helping out homeowners and renters that could be evicted at the end of January 31st. People have been calling out, the American people have been calling out for relief, and we haven't gotten a damn thing. Nothing from our politicians. So Joe Manchin is saying no to stimulus checks. Nancy is talking about doing an impeachment, even though right now what Americans need is Medicare for all, single-payer health care. We need debt forgiveness on all levels, but we're not getting it. And AOC is scared that it's going to happen again. Hey, politicians on both sides, it's going to be really difficult to tell somebody to calm down when they've been evicted from their homes. It's going to be really difficult to tell someone to calm down when their loved ones are freezing outside in the elements. It's going to be real difficult to tell someone to calm down when they haven't fed their family in maybe 2 or 3 days. It's going to be real difficult to tell someone to calm down when they can't pay the bills, when they can't pay their debts. I mean, try telling someone to calm down, and eventually you're going to wish it was some pothead comedian on YouTube, some jagoff comedian from Chicago that was yelling, because good luck in telling a desperate, scared individual or individuals to calm down when their government leaves them out in the wilderness. Now, look, Donald Trump is a horrible individual. I don't like him. I didn't want him to be elected in 2016. I sure as heck didn't want to see him get reelected in 2020. But this weird pathway that our politicians are going down with this ridiculous censorship and call for impeachment, you think that this is going to make Donald Trump disappear, or his followers, his 70 million voters, disappear overnight? This is a child's fantasy, and just thinking that this is all going to go away. This will not go away, and there will be continuous protests happening in the near future if the Democrats fail to deliver, because right now the ball's in their court. The boogeyman, Trump, Turtle Boy Mitch McConnell, they're right now hiding underneath the bed. They don't have any power right now. They're in the minority. But everyone's going to be looking at the people who do have the power, and that's the Democrats. And if Joe Manchin and all these other politicians are saying no to relief measures or relief bills for the people, well, then there will be continuous protests, and it won't be from Trump supporters. It will be from progressives and independents. Good luck in telling them to calm down, and good luck in telling Americans in general to calm down when the safety net, which should be there, is not there for them. Daniel, what's the final note?
Okay, so I want to speak on a number of issues to this entire issue. First, let's start with impeachment. By saying that Trump deserves impeachment effectively after he's out of office for the express purpose of getting him to not be able to run again, that says to every American that Trump speaking at a rally, effectively, to some degree, is more egregious than slaughtering Iraq, like George Bush did, which we refused to impeach him for. So we're saying that killing 500,000 or more citizens of another country is a smaller act of badness than storming Congress and the police letting you in. We're saying that doing away with habeas corpus, blowing up a teenager with drone like Obama did, expanding the wars, is less impeachable than what Trump did. We're saying that the backroom deals, the bills, the 94 crime bill, all the stuff that happened under Clinton is less impeachable than what Trump did. And you can go back to the Iran-Contra, everything that America's done. Somehow that's acceptable. That's less devastating. Well, ironically, as we flip a country a year, thanks to mostly the CIA, at the behest of resources, AOC makes a point of, we can't have someone stand to have people outside the gates and threatening us, unlike America, where it does to every country it decides to overthrow. So that's less of an issue. So what really Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is saying to everyone right here, right now is, it's fine if I do it, it's fine if we do it, it's fine if other people do it worse, if it's at our sanction, but if you do it to us, that's where the buck stops. That's a huge issue. That's an enormous issue. That's something that no one's ever talking about right now. And again, the thing is, you can impeach Trump. You can throw him in a prison, throw him in Guantanamo. That's how you make things worse. Haven't we learned from the Civil War? Haven't we learned from civil wars throughout the world? In their attempt to get Trump silenced and put under the rugs, all they're doing is making more people feel it is more necessary to revolt, the very thing that they say they're trying to do. The correct answer is, this is an ongoing situation that has started since the Reagan era started in America, of people acting, even today. If Reagan ran for president right now, the Democrats would laugh him out of the party for being too socialist. That's the position that we're in right now. So if you don't understand the big picture of why all this is happening, why this makes sense in a rules for rulers sort of way, if it makes sense, why it makes sense in a historical point of way, why it makes sense in the way that the U.S. is structured. Our stance at Hardlands Media has always been that Trump is simply a symptom of a disease. He is not the disease itself. So putting all your anger and all your hatred on Trump, and by the way, I want to point out, can we do a calculation of how many millions of dollars and thousands of hours of combined time it would take to do an impeachment hearing? Whether or not it succeeds is sort of irrelevant. We already saw what it looked like before when they tried to do it. What this means is that the tempo that they are laying out, they want to lay out, assuming they actually want to do it, at the start of Biden's administration is, we're not going to focus on you. We're going to focus on things that we didn't take into account and we didn't do anything about, because it's more important that we feel safe after something happened to us once than you feel whole after years of neglect.